So let me just check if this is live. And today we are going to discuss about the diagram based questions from endocrine system. Okay. Just a second. Let me just check this. Yeah, okay, all right, so we'll start with this. So this is diagram based questions on endocrine system. So there are about 6 to 7 questions that I have added, so we'll discuss them in detail about different hormones and different pituitary glands which are there. So before I start, let me introduce myself. I'm Vani Kari, biology educator at Unacademy. I'm an engineer with bachelor's and master's degree in biotechnology and a B.Ed degree. Also a founder of a startup where I grow microgreens by vertical farming technology. Just a second. Am I audible? All right, okay, fine. So we'll start with this. All the questions that I have added here, so these are taken from Together With, okay. And before I go with this, so let's have a look at the years. Okay, so these questions are actually asked. So this is taken from Together With and Together With, or even if we talk about the USWAL publication, so they'll mention the year in which this particular question or so and so question was asked. So make sure that you are solving the previous year questions as well. Okay, so in referral book, other than the previous year questions, so the self-created questions are also there, so you can check out them too, just to have an ideology, or other than the previous year questions. Okay, so the previous year questions which were asked in earlier years and also you can check on that. Okay, so now this one anyway I've taken from Together With, and you can see here the diagram given below represents the location, okay, and the structure of an endocrine gland. So by looking at this you can understand what exactly is the location and what is this gland. Okay, so study the same and answer the questions that follow. So did you get this? So by looking at this, did you understand that what gland is this? So if so, you need to mention, name the endocrine gland shown in the diagram. Yes, anybody? So what is the endocrine gland shown here in the diagram? Name the secretion of the gland which regulates the basal metabolism. So there is a gland and this gland secretes a hormone. Okay, so that hormone is having a role in regulating the basal metabolism. So name the mineral element required for synthesis of the above mentioned hormone. Again, one repeated question which was there in the previous year, like deficiency of this and this causes a simple goiter. Okay, so which is mostly found in hilly regions. So that is a give reason type of question, so you can find associated with that. And name the disease caused due to under secretion of the above mentioned hormone in children. So this is with respect to children. And name the disease caused due to hypersecretion of the above mentioned hormone. So let's have a look at this. So the gland shown here is what gland? So you can see this is a thyroid gland. Okay, so two of the lobes are connected by a isthmus over here. So this is a narrow structure which is there. Okay, and the hormone secreted by thyroid gland is what? The hormone here is thyroxine hormone. Okay, so thyroxine hormone is the one which looks after the basal metabolism. So basal metabolism, when we mention, it is mainly like we can say temperature regulation, with respect to metabolism that occurs in the body. So what all changes that can be made? So like there is a carbohydrate metabolism, the protein metabolism, so then there is a lipid metabolism. So all these metabolic reactions which are there, so they are to be used, like once the metabolic processes occur, so how the processing of this has to be done will be looked by this thyroxine hormone. So name the mineral element required for the synthesis of above mentioned hormone. So it is the iodine. So give reason type of question you can get based on that, on this, like deficiency of iodine hormone, okay, not sorry, iodine mineral in the soil, okay, can lead to a particular disease. So that is a simple goiter in hilly areas. Okay, so this is the give a reason question. So why exactly this is happening in hilly areas? Since it is above the sea level, so the soil is not rich in iodine. Okay, so when it is not rich in iodine, the vegetables which are grown in that soil, so they'll also lack this iodine. So even if you are consuming different types of vegetables or fruit, there is no iodine content, and that's the reason. So external source of iodine supply has to be done. So that is iodized salt can be taken. So based on that, we can consider, like the simple goiter or any hyposecretion disorders can be avoided. So name the disease caused due to undersecretion, okay, of the above mentioned hormone in children. So this can be with respect to the cretinism anyway. So yeah, we'll have a look at this. So you can have a look at your Selena. So certain questions which will be mentioned, no? So they can go wrong. Okay, so in that case you can just yeah. So now you can find now with respect to the thyroid gland. So there are associated disorders which they have given. Okay, I hope you all refer Selena itself. So if at the end, so let's say you don't have much time to revise at the last moment, so I'll be coming up with one mind map as well. So that is mind map session on this endocrine system. So before that, there is a summary which is given at the end of your book. So if you know that summary perfectly, then you can answer these questions easily. So here the name the disease caused due to under secretion in case of children. So it is cretinism. Okay. So other than that, there is one more disease which is asked. So name the disease caused due to hypersecretion. So exophthalmic goiter. So X is basically protruding outside. Ophthalmic is what? The eyes are protruding outside, and there is the associated goiter. So exophthalmic goiter is the disease caused due to hypersecretion of the above mentioned hormone. Okay. And moving on to the next question, I hope there are no doubts in the previous one. So moving on to the next one. So you can anyway make a note of this summary table. So that is 161. So hormones from 4 major endocrine glands and their original, and their principal actions are mentioned. So this table, if you know, like easily you can answer a lot of questions from this chapter. So you do get a lot of questions from this chapter. So it does carry mark. So make sure that you are studying this chapter well. Okay. So given below is the outline of the human body showing the important glands. So here the pituitary gland is shown, and this one is the thyroid gland, the thymus, and like we know the one which secretes the thyroxine hormone. So then the pancreas is shown, and then the adrenal gland. So adrenal gland is also shown. Okay. So now name the glands 1 to 4. Yes, and name the hormone secreted by part 2. So what exactly is the hormone secreted by part 2? So we just saw that, and give one important function of this hormone. So now you know what exactly this thyroxine. So let's just label this 1 to 4. So now this is a pituitary. So under pituitary you will be studying anterior pituitary as well as posterior pituitary. So the anterior pituitary, what is that? No? So this does produce different hormones, like many of tropic hormones we can mention. The posterior pituitary, when we mention, so this is going to produce oxytocin hormone and ADH, that is vasopressin. Okay. So here, hi Pankaj Sharma. So which one you want me to explain? This question. So this question I'm still writing. So the first part is pituitary gland. So pituitary gland is divided into two lobes. So there is the anterior and posterior pituitary are there, right? So anterior pituitary does secrete the tropic hormone along with the growth hormone. So tropic hormone is nothing but a particular hormone which is controlling other endocrine glands, and based on, so if this hormone, if one particular hormone is released from the pituitary, so that will make sure that the other endocrine glands are also releasing or inhibiting the hormone there. Okay, so that is the influence of one hormone on other endocrine glands is what we call as the tropic hormone. Okay, so here pituitary is there, so this is anyway the thyroid gland. All right, then this one is pancreas over here, so this is pancreas, and the one which is mentioned here is the adrenal gland. Okay, so name the hormone secreted by part 2. So what is this part 2? Thyroid gland. So thyroid gland secretes what hormone? Thyroxine hormone, and the function of this hormone is what? Basal metabolism. So basal metabolism is overall function, like overall growth, okay, with respect to metabolism that is occurring. So once the carbohydrate is processed, once the protein is processed, the lipid is processed, the body temperature with respect to their uses, that is the product uses, will be looked by this hormone. So name the endocrine part of the part numbered 3. So this is the endocrine part is nothing but the islets of Langerhans, where you can find alpha cell, beta cell and delta cell. So alpha cell is responsible for glucagon secretion, beta cell is responsible for insulin secretion, and same way there is what is this hormone? The delta cell. So delta cell is responsible for secretion of somatotropin, statin. Okay, so these hormones are being secreted by the islets of Langerhans. So the name the endocrine part here when we mention, so it is the islets of Langerhans. Okay, so why is the part labeled 1 called the master gland? Which part of the forebrain controls the gland labeled 1? So which part of this forebrain controlling this pituitary gland? So it is the hypothalamus. So name the gland that secretes the emergency hormone. So the gland that secretes the emergency hormone is adrenaline, is the emergency hormone. So adrenaline is secreted by the adrenal gland, which is basically from the medulla part. So medulla part is the one which is secreting the adrenaline hormone. So this is pituitary gland, thyroid gland, pancreas and adrenal. Okay, so thyroxine, it regulates the basal metabolism. Islets of Langerhans are the endocrine part. So what exactly is exocrine part? So now when we mention the this is about the pancreas. So pancreas is actually a heterocrine gland, so where it can act as an endocrine as well as a exocrine gland. So that's the reason. So a lot of times the given reason question is asked, why the pancreas is called both endocrine as well as exocrine gland. So why do we call it? Because it does secrete an enzyme which is the exocrine part through the duct, and it does secrete a hormone, so that is through the endocrine part, that is the islets of Langerhans. Okay, and other than that, the pituitary is called as the master gland because its secretion. So once the pituitary secretes a hormone, it is going to control other endocrine glands, so that we call as the tropic hormone. Okay, so the hormone which is controlling other endocrine gland, so that we call as a tropic hormone. So tropic hormone is actually a repeated question, so a lot of times this has been asked, so make sure that you know tropic hormone. And the part of this forebrain which is responsible for controlling the pituitary is nothing but the hypothalamus. Okay, yes, moving on to the next one. So study the diagram given below and answer the questions that follow. So this question here, maybe this was, yeah, so this was asked in the year 2016. Okay, and now this question which is there, so this was asked in the year 2011. Okay, so study the diagram given below. Anyway, I have taken all these questions mainly from Together With, where you can find some previous year questions. So study the diagram given below and answer the questions that follow. I think you are following up. Any doubt in this? Are you all understanding? Okay. So study the diagram given below and then answer the questions that follow. So there is glucagon, the pancreas, insulin and liver. So name the cells of the pancreas which produce glucagon, okay, and the insulin. So there is a glucagon production and there is insulin production, which will be done by the islets of Langerhans of the pancreas. So now when we mention insulin, so it is the beta cells of islets of Langerhans, and here this is the alpha cells of islets of Langerhans. Okay, so state the main function of glucagon and insulin. So what exactly this glucagon or insulin does? Anybody has any idea on this? The glucagon or the insulin. So now maintaining that blood glucose level. Okay, so that will be done by the hormones. Okay, so now let's say there is only a particular quantity of glucose allowed in the blood. Okay, so that regulation, so conversion of excess amount of glucose into glycogen, so that will be done by the insulin. So that means it is decreasing the blood sugar level, so it is trying to maintain the normal concentration of blood, that is glucose concentration of blood. So that is with respect to after. So let's say you have done overeating or even after normal eating, so whatever, there will be an increase in amount of glucose which will occur. So now a normal amount of glucose has to be maintained. So whatever extra amount of glucose you have consumed, so all that will be converted into glycogen and will be stored in the liver. So that is done by whom? It is done by the insulin now. Okay, and other than that, so there is a glucagon. Okay, so glucagon is going to increase your blood sugar level. So let's say there is very less, so you haven't had your food for a long time, so you are actually having very less glucose in your blood. Okay, so the glucose is required because that itself is the one which is providing you energy after undergoing a oxidation. Okay, so that is oxidation of glucose to release the energy can be seen. So now as the glucose is less, so the glycogen breakdown has to occur, where the glycogen will break down into glucose, and this glucose is going to increase the level of glucagon, level of blood sugar level. So here the glucagon is going to increase the blood sugar level. This is going to decrease the blood sugar level. So that is in maintaining the normal concentration of glucose in blood. So why is the pancreas referred to as exoendocrine glands? So just now I answered it, because it does secrete a pancreatic juice, which is the exocrine part, through the duct, and endocrine part, that is through the islets of Langerhans. It does secrete the hormone, and that's the reason the pancreas is referred to as exoendocrine gland. So why is insulin not given orally but is injected into the body? Okay, so insulin is not given orally, okay, so but it is injected into the body because it is a hormone. So hormone has to be given out through the blood itself. So insulin is chemically a protein. So if taken orally, what will happen? The digestion, breakdown of this protein can be seen by the digestive juices or the digestive enzymes which are there. So that's the reason it is injected into the body to increase its effect. So we don't want this protein digestion, because insulin is a protein in nature and we don't want to break this protein and absorb it into body. So we want this insulin to work. So work for our body so that a particular functioning will be done. Okay. So other than that, now what is the technical term for the cells of the pancreas that produce endocrine hormones? It is the islets of Langerhans. Where in the body is the pancreas located? So it is located below the stomach in the abdominal cavity. Okay, so location of each of these glands is very important, and you need to write the exact location as mentioned in your Selena. So they specifically mention write the exact location. So exact location as given in your textbook. Okay, so this is located below the stomach, so that is in the abdominal cavity. So the given diagram is an outline of the human body showing the important glands. So name the gland. Anyway, this has been done. So here the fifth one is extra. Okay, and this fifth one is nothing but the gonads. So testis in case of male, and ovaries in case of female. So those are the gonads. Okay, so these are the hormones. There are hormones secreted by ovary, there are hormones secreted by testis. So testis is going to secrete the hormone testosterone, okay, and the ovaries are secreting the hormone, the progesterone and the estrogen hormone. Alright, so now name the hormone secreted by 2. So the thyroxine, again, I don't know why so many questions with respect to the same gland. So give one important function, so basal metabolism. So name the endocrine cells present in part 3. So endocrine cells present in part 3, the islets of Langerhans. Name the hormone secreted by part 4. So that is the adrenal gland. So adrenal gland secretes the adrenal medulla. So that the adrenal medulla secretes the adrenaline hormone, and the adrenal cortex secretes the glucocorticoid as well as mineralocorticoids. Okay. And to give one important function of this hormone, so they are asking about the emergency hormone, the adrenaline. So it is influencing the carbohydrate metabolism, helps the body to adapt to different influences and prepares the body to face any emergency situation. So it is going to act on different parts in your body. Okay, so what is this one? The third question was what? One second. Knowing the endocrine parts, so present, so that is alpha, beta and delta cells of islets of Langerhans has to be mentioned. Okay, so it's not just alpha, beta and delta cells of pancreas. You need to clearly mention the alpha, beta and delta cells of islets of Langerhans of the pancreas. You need to mention. So this part has to be mentioned. Okay, so moving on to the next part. Yes, any of you, any doubt? So any doubts you guys have, you can ask. Okay, so there are no doubts, right? Okay, all right. So now this is given diagram is a part of human body showing some structures. So that is in ventral and dorsal views. Okay. So label the parts 1 to 5. So 1, 2, 3 is over here, the 4 is here and the 5th one here. So pancreas is labeled, the 5th one being the adrenal gland, the 4th one being the ovaries in case of female, and this is being thyroid gland, and they have shown it as a bow. Anyway, so this is thyroid gland, and here you can find the pituitary gland. Okay. Alright, so this question label the parts 1 to 5. Distinguish between endocrine and exocrine gland. Yes, anybody has any idea on this? What is endocrine or exocrine? So endocrine gland, when we mention, so it is basically a part of this gland, okay, so where there is no duct, so it is a ductless gland. So without a duct, the secretion of the hormone is done directly into the blood. So the hormone is going to diffuse into the blood directly and it is going to reach the target organ, so that we call our endocrine gland. So when we mention exocrine gland, so through the duct, that is through the tube, a secretion of a particular juice is done. So it can be like, the sweat secretion, the tear secretion, or it can be the intestinal juice, the gastric juice, so pancreatic juice. So different enzymatic juices which are there, so they are secreted. So with the duct, like, through the tube they are coming out, so that we call as the exocrine gland. So same with respect to mammary gland as well. So which part is a mixed gland? So it is mixed gland, the pancreas itself, which we also call as the heterocrine gland. Okay, so heterocrine gland, when we mention, so it will act as both exocrine as well as endocrine. So it is an exoendocrine gland. And what hormone does part 4 secrete? So part 4 is a gonad, so that is the ovary. So ovary secretes the hormone estrogen and the progesterone after the corpus luteum is formed. So name the part that corresponds to part 4 in female. So it is ovary again. So you can have a look at this. Pituitary gland, thyroid gland, pancreas, ovaries, adrenal glands. So these are ductless, these are duct. So secrete hormone, juices. So they are responsible for chemical coordination and they alter the rate of chemical reaction in the body. So part 3 is mixed gland, exocrine as well as endocrine. The sex hormone, progesterone and estrogen as well as relaxin. So that is only during the delivery process. Okay. So when the delivery of the baby has to be done, so that is when the role of relaxin comes. But yeah, for you guys, again, you do not have to mention about the ovary and all. So since this is not a previous year question and you are not studying about the ovaries or testes, so you can just ignore this. So basically progesterone and estrogen. So relaxin hormone, if they are mentioned in the summary, so maybe you can go ahead with this. So this is ovary. And I think this would be our last question. So that is given diagram. So given diagram is the outline of the human body. Okay. So redraw the same and then place the following organs in their correct position and label them. So they are asking you to draw a thyroid gland. So where you can show the thyroid gland in this region. So that is the neck region. So there is a thyroid gland. Okay. And windpipe also has been asked. So you can just show the windpipe. The continuity from here is going to be the windpipe over here. Okay. So this is a windpipe. So then diaphragm you need to show, which is separating your abdominal cavity with this chest cavity. So there is a diaphragm. So right and left lung has to be shown. So there is a right side lung. Okay. And there is a left side lung which can be shown over here. All right. And other than that, hi Kudrat, good evening. Yeah, so right side as well as left side lung you need to mention. Then right and left kidney. So over here on the back side, so you can show the kidney. Okay. So there are kidneys over here. So on top of the kidney, so you can just show this adrenal gland which is present. So adrenal gland is also asked. So on top of this kidney, so you can show there is a adrenal gland. So that is on both the sides. Okay. So name the hormone produced by the thyroid gland, the thyroxine hormone. The basal metabolism is the function again. So what would a child suffer from if there was hyposecretion of this gland? So that is about the thyroid gland only. So if there is a hyposecretion, so it is a condition called cretinism. Okay. So what role does diaphragm play in the inspiration of air? Explain briefly. So this is with respect to diaphragm inspiration. Okay. So when you have to inhale the air, so what exactly has happened inside? So there is an increase in volume that is inside this particular lung space, and since the volume has increased inside, the pressure has decreased. So that means now you know there is this diaphragm which is there. So this diaphragm is relaxed. Okay. So this is relaxed in condition and the thoracic volume is completely increased. Okay. And when that happens, the pressure falls inside. So when the pressure falls inside, so the air is going to move from outside. So since in the atmospheric pressure what is there, so that will be more on the outside as in compared to the inside. So the air is going to diffuse in, that is from higher atmospheric pressure to the lesser pressure inside. So that leads to inspiration. So in that case, this particular diaphragm which is there, so this is contracted. Okay. And the reverse can be seen. So it is going to get back to normal condition. So that is in a relaxed condition. So once the expiration has to occur. Okay. So here as mentioned, so during inhalation the diaphragm is going to flatten. So the volume of the thoracic cavity increases. So during exhalation the diaphragm becomes dome shaped, thus decreasing the volume of thoracic cavity. Okay. So cretinism is the condition. The thyroxine is controlling the basal metabolic rate, and other than that particular glands are mentioned here. So thyroid gland is mentioned, the windpipe is shown. So there is right lung and the left lung is shown, the diaphragm below. Yes. Okay. So diaphragm below is shown, and again there is right kidney and left kidney is shown. So you can just show them as shown in the diagram here. Yes, Satyam, you can ask your question. Okay, so we are done with today's session. Yes, you can anyway type in your question, Satyam. I'll just check it. Okay, so you can anyway send it. So before I end this session, so you can subscribe to this channel. So that is Unacademy, ICSE and ISC both. So corpus luteum. So corpus luteum is nothing but, so you know there is Graafian follicle formed, right? So let's imagine this is the Graafian follicle and there is the egg. So this one is egg. So surrounding this egg, so there are follicular cells are there and there is this cavity. Okay. So there is a cavity which is created and again there are set of cells. So now this we call as the Graafian follicle. Okay. So what will happen? So once the Graafian follicle ruptures, so this egg which is there, so the ovum is released. Okay. So release of the egg or the ovum is done. So this part we call as the ovulation process, and this remaining part, you see, once the release of egg is done after the Graafian follicle ruptures, so this remaining mass you find here, so this mass is the one which becomes the yellow body. Okay, or which is also called as corpus luteum. Okay, so this is also called as corpus luteum. So this corpus luteum is the one which produces the hormone progesterone, and it is responsible for maintaining that endometrium in uterus. So uterus will be there, right? So this uterus is having a endometrial lining. So this is the endometrial lining. So maintenance of endometrium lining, like, you know, it has to be maintained thicker only. Okay, so that it can implant the embryo. So thickness or its growth has to be maintained, and for that progesterone hormone is required. So corpus luteum will make sure that the progesterone is produced and this will be maintained as it is. Got it, Satyam? So it is just the Graafian follicle is going to rupture, the egg is going to release, that is the ovum is going to release, and the remaining part of this Graafian follicle which is there, so that will be turning itself as the corpus luteum, which is going to produce a hormone progesterone. So now FSH hormone is the hormone produced from the pituitary gland. Okay, so that is follicle stimulating hormone, which will act again on the, so there is FSH and there is LH. So follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. So now, you know, in order to maintain this corpus luteum, so there is a hormone called as luteinizing hormone is required. So FSH hormone, the follicle stimulating hormone, is required, that is to produce this Graafian follicle. So follicles are being generated, so many follicular cells will join together here. So mass of a cell with the egg is formed, so that is a follicle, Graafian follicle. So in order to form a Graafian follicle, follicle stimulating hormone is required, which is secreted by pituitary gland. Okay, so understood, right? Yeah. Alright, so I'll end this session. So since the time is done, so you can subscribe to our channel, that is Unacademy, ICSE and ISC both. So click on bell icon to get notified about the session. You can also download the PDF from the Telegram. So my Telegram is Vani Kari ICSE class 9 and 10 on Telegram. You can search it. Okay, and like and share the video. So see you all in the next session. Bye bye everyone.